Okay. The Torah portion is Shemini, but the big deal this Shabbat is Parah Aduma, that is the red heifer. Do we know the red heifer? I remember the chocolate cow. No, what was the poem? A purple cow. Come on, everybody. I never saw a purple cow. I never hope to see one, but I can tell you anyhow, I'd rather see than be one. Nobody knows that?
Where did chocolate come from in that? Particularly you're wearing a purple shirt. How do you
Yes. I guess I should have gone with the brown ensemble. You're right, Jason. So my mother used to say, you're right, you're not wrong. All right. Well, the red heifer has been popular probably going back to the 70s because there is a small but noisy coterie of Jews who believe that if they can get a red heifer, this will hasten the coming of Messiah and a world of peace, and as a result, bull sperm, and paying a lot of money because I haven't clocked that particular market recently, but I assume it goes pretty heavily. Anyway, yes.
Has there ever been recorded
Yes.
red heifer?
7 times. According to the Talmud, the Korban Paraduma, that is the offering of the red heifer, was made 7 times. In all of Jewish, I could say history because it's the Talmud. And by the time you get to the Talmud,
4,000 years or so?
yeah, something like that, yes. Yes, I was going to propose it to the temple as a fundraiser because it's about time we had a petting zoo. Anyway, many years ago, this is back in the 70s, there was a kibbutz. I don't remember the name of the kibbutz, but obviously it was a kibbutz dati. It was a religious kibbutz. They managed to inseminate. See, again, as a New Yorker, there's a limit on how much of this I can actually describe to you. But somehow or other, a red heifer was born. There you go. Somebody found it under their pillow. And they named it Zimriya, which is either a tune or Tizmoret is an orchestra. Zimriya is a tune, a little musical heifer, because it was able to sing in the key of C. No, it couldn't sing, but anyway, they were saying, oh boy, we've got a red heifer, this is the coolest thing, Mashiach will come, and then you see what you have to do, and here's another job I wouldn't want. You take a magnifying glass and you look over the entire heifer, and they did. And it had 1 white hair, which disqualified it from being the appropriate heifer. And they were all very sad, but I'm sure the heifer was pretty happy, because nobody wants to be a sacrifice. Let me explain how it worked, okay?
Wait, but what happened the other 7 times?
I'll tell you what happened. Okay. They managed to find a red heifer. It was purely red. Don't forget, this is before Anton von Leeuwenhoek invented eyeglasses, so there was no magnifying glass.
So we didn't know if it had a white.
Right, so they went on the assumption that the red heifer was completely red. And this is before Pesach. Now, in order to partake of the Passover sacrifice, you have got to be completely tahor. You've got to be completely pure. And so the Kohanim and the Leviim, mostly the Kohanim, the priests, would shecht, would slaughter the heifer and burn it completely on the altar to nothing but ashes. That is actually the original meaning of Holocaust. They would take the ashes and mix them with holy water, and then take the mixture and stir it around, and all the people are standing in front of the Mishkan or the temple, the Beit HaMikdash, whatever it was, and they would sprinkle the ash water mixture on the people to purify them. The irony of the whole thing is that once you are purified, well, you're okay. But everything involved in the sacrifice, the utensils, not the altar, because that can't possibly become tameh, that is ritually impure. Everything involved in the sacrifice was impure. But the ash water mixture was tahor, was pure. Okay? Does that make perfect sense?
No.
Not to me, not to anyone. And we have record, this is in the Chumash, this is in the Torah, that the people who for some reason or other were still impure, not after the heifer ceremony, they never participated in the heifer ceremony. There was a later sort of Pesach Katan, a miniature Pesach, during which there was no matzah, there was no horseradish, nothing like that, but they did do the burning of a second heifer and did the sprinkling. Okay?
Was that one also red?
I'm sorry, what? Oh, yes. Red is what goes. Really, really. And ever since that time, the great state of Connecticut has become famous for the red heifers that it puts out.
Oh, of course.
Leland's from Connecticut. Okay. What is significant here, though, is it's Vayikra. It's Sefer Vayikra. It's the book of Leviticus. It's all purity and impurity. Now, this is not treif and kosher. No. This is tameh and tahor. This is ritually impure and ritually pure. And, for example, how do you become ritually impure? Well, I'm probably ritually impure right now. Even if you touch a worm, even if you touch an insect, and I have to confess to you, because I don't lie, I'm a rabbi, I did kill a little teeny tiny fly last night, so that probably was enough to make me tameh. Also, well, we're all adults here, wet dreams, that kind of thing, because what happens in that instance is that an incubus, a spirit, a demon in the form of a woman, seduces the sleeping man, gets him to emit, and gathers that and uses it for demon children. You cannot make this stuff up, okay?
Doing a good job of it, though.
But don't worry, ladies, you are not left out, because there are also succubi, succubus, that is a demon which seduces women while they're asleep. Okay?
I want to know why you couldn't bring the little fly outside.
You're right. I should have. I thought too fast. I was going to call you, but I figured you'd be busy.
Next time do.
I'm going to get a little teeny tiny cage for the fly. You know, the fact is, if you believe in Gilgul Nefashot, this may come up tomorrow, that is metempsychosis, the recycling of souls. That may not have been a fly. That may have been Uncle Irving.
And you killed him again.
Yes, I'm sorry. Now, in all honesty, Uncle Irving was my uncle, not my favorite. I didn't really have a favorite uncle. They were all strange. At every Kiddush, he would seize upon the bottle of whiskey and go around pouring large glasses for everyone. And I used to think, Irving, it's not your whiskey. You know? You can be very generous with somebody else's whiskey. All right. Let's see. Oh, this is sad. Nadav and Avihu, and I wrote about this back in February. It's still on my blog, whatever. Where Nadav and Avihu are, well, what happens to them? They offer strange fire before the Lord, Eish Zarah. They are destroyed. A bolt of lightning or some other cosmic force kills the two of them, and the other two, Elazar and Itamar, the other two sons, the younger sons, because you really have to have an heir and a spare. They are commanded, good Shabbos, they are commanded to pick up the bodies of Nadav and Avihu and carry them out of the sacred place. But the tragedy of the thing is, Aaron doesn't have time to mourn. And dare I ask, where is Mrs. Aaron? She doesn't even come up in the text. I mean, gee whiz. But he's in shock. And then there's a section where Moses says, in general, makes a general proclamation that if you are shikar, if you are inebriated, you should not enter into the holy precincts. And based on that little statement, generations of rabbis were saying, you see, they had some schnapps before they did the service because they were nervous. So that's what happens to them. But I just want you to know, just a little sidebar here, as far as what to do in case you want the red heifer and Messiah to come. You have Rabbi Tuli Weiss, who is Orthodox. He went to my alma mater, Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary. Then he was a rabbi in Columbus, Ohio for about 5 years. Then he and his family made Aliyah, his family. It's his wife and the baby. And they moved to Israel, and then he published the Israel Bible, which is not a full Bible. It is simply the 5 books of Moses. But the idea is to reach out to Gentiles and to get them to understand Judaism better. Now, why is this scary? I'll just say one word, evangelicals. Okay? The evangelicals have embraced the current governmental situation, and they explain that the man, even though he is, last I checked, very sinful, he will be the instrument which will cause you-know-who to come for a second time. And the Jews are in this. Rabbi Tuli Weiss is in this because he's happy for anyone to support Israel. And the evangelicals are in it because there's an old belief going back at least to the Middle Ages, possibly before that, and to Jerry Falwell, saying that just before you know who comes for a second time, all the Jews will be gathered into the land of Israel and simultaneously and spontaneously converted to Christianity. Come on, we're Jews, right? Last I checked. We can't agree about Judaism. How on earth are we going to, or in heaven, are we going to spontaneously convert? And there's a lovely page where you can buy the Bible, and also a chart that teaches you to read Hebrew, a book of devotions, so you can see who they're aiming at. But let's move on to the kosher laws. With the kosher laws, really, I'm sorry there isn't a vegan department, but these are strictly four-legged animals who existed, and then all of a sudden they don't. But you'll be happy to know a lot of animals are excluded. What are the two requirements to be kosher? Not including people.
Cloven hoof.
Cloven hoof. A chew its cud. A ruminant or an unguent. No, an unguent is something you put on a burn. Okay, so that excludes the camel, because the camel chews its cud, but its hooves, it doesn't really have hooves, it has toes. It has 3 toes. The most disagreeable creatures God ever created. Hello, good shows. All right. Next, the hyrax. When was the last time you had a hyrax steak? It would probably be very small because it is a sort of, it's a badger. It's a very small badger. I looked these all up. I had so much fun doing it. The hyrax lives in South Africa, and it is a mammal, but you will never guess to which very large animal it is related. I'll give you a hint. It's the largest land animal around. Yes!
Wow.
Yes,
Nice
based on its feet. It's the cutest little thing. I'm going to get one. It's got a little pointy nose. It looks like a cross between a mouse and a badger. Okay, that's the hyrax. Well, you know, at least they don't invade your house. They just come in the front door.
That's kosher?
No, oh no, you don't want to eat a hyrax. It has paws.
No.
Really, it will
Sherry
give
will
you
be
paws.
upset.
Okay, yes, all right. The rabbit. Why isn't the rabbit kosher? It chews its cud.
It doesn't have,
It has three toes. Okay. All right. Well, the pig we already know, but I told you the thing with the pig. Why the pig is not kosher. Okay. Here we are in the Middle East, and what kind of animals do we have in the herd? Not counting Porky because he's not there.
donkeys.
Donkeys, sheep. What else?
Lamb,
Goats, camels, but we're not eating them.
lamb,
Lamb, yes, very good. But not pigs. And the cows, yes, cows. Because all of these animals are able to sweat. Pigs don't sweat. They don't have sweat glands. That's why they lie in the mud to cool off. That's why they're so popular in places like Polynesia, which is hot, but at least it's humid. So it keeps the pig very, very cool. Now, pigs, don't say because they're dumb. They are incredibly intelligent. Some people keep pot-bellied pigs as pets. You can litter box train them. You can take them to the beach. There is the story of the pig who dragged its master, I don't know what, pulling what, out of the surf and rescued him. The only thing you don't want to do is feed them too much because they eat like
Pigs.
yes, very good. Okay. But they don't sweat. That's why Muslims and Jews don't eat them. What amazes me, are Jews allowed to eat shellfish?
no.
According to Nachmanides, it's because the shellfish are way down deep and the kosher fish are way up top. And my question is, when was the last time someone caught a lobster in the Mediterranean Sea? I love the Mediterranean. You know, you can walk out 3 miles and it doesn't get any deeper. There's no undertow, there are no waves. It's a very Jewish ocean.
And when did you catch your flounder on the top? They're bottom feeders.
Oh, okay.
Or a
The
carp.
flounder.
And
Or
carp.
carp,
Or
yeah.
a carp.
Do the carp, when you catch them, are they red and salty?
Not until after you pickle them.
You know, my mother used to buy whitefish, and she always bought one small piece of carp. I thought it was like gold, you know? And it was very salty. Okay, these are some animals you can eat. The ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle. If you can catch Bambi, by all means. There is a farm down in Pennsylvania. I think it used to be owned by Empire, where somehow or other they got Bambi to stand still, and Feline too, so they can shecht her, so they can them, so they can slaughter him kosher. But it costs a fortune. One time we saw a haunch of venison in one of those frou-frou kosher emporia up in Boca. It was like almost $100. Okay, and my secretary in New Hampshire, she was not Jewish, but she knew more about Judaism than most Jews. And her father used to be a hunter. And she said, if you get a deer, you've got to marinate it for hours and hours because it's very tough. And in Maine, this is a very common thing, because when the sweet little skinny ladies are driving their Land Rovers and their Toyota Sequoias and the really big SUVs, why do they drive really big SUVs in Maine?
Carry the animal.
Because you're going to hit a moose. Because the moose has a very small brain, but he knows one thing. He's the biggest critter in the forest. And when the moose wants to meet Mrs. Moose, nothing will stop him. They used to wander into Portsmouth. They used to go down the main street. It was quite a thing. Yeah, very, very loyal. How much do they weigh? Like 1,000 pounds. That's a lot of moose. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Yes.
Why is the ostrich not kosher?
The ostrich is not kosher because it's not raised domestically, and they wouldn't know where to shecht it. It's got a very long neck. You see? Yeah. Oh, the giraffe comes up. Oddly enough, the giraffe comes up. The giraffe comes up under the heading of camel leopard. It's called the camel leopard, according to the King James. Why the camel leopard?
It's got spots.
It's got spots, and it's kind of built like a camel.
It's a camel lid.
Yes, they're very intelligent, really. That would be my backup. After I let the fly go, I would buy a giraffe. And the Hebrew word for giraffe, after all, is giraffa. Isn't that great? Does that include the masculine, zachar, gamke? Girafot, girafim. Okay, quick, go look up how to say the plural of giraffe. Girafot. Okay, it's always feminine.
Called the Google it.
Yes, I Googled a lot of this stuff, okay? Now, significantly, we have a lot in common with India, with Vedic India. They also have food taboos, and they're very concerned with purity. The story goes that if you are a Brahmin, who's the top of the caste, and you hire a servant to go in front of you on the path with a little whisk broom to whisk in front of you. Why? Because they don't want you stepping on Uncle Irving, you see. And that makes perfect sense. I'm going to get you a whisk broom and I'll walk in front.
I rest my case.
All right, that's fine. Fins and scales. What's with the fins and the scales?
For the fish.
Fish. To be kosher, it's got to have fins and scales. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Rabbi, where can I get a nice piece of swordfish? This, back in the 50s, was a major machlokes, an argument between the Orthodox and the conservative, or as we like to say, the Orthodox and everyone else. Because they called in Rav Moshe Tendler, let him rest in peace. And Rabbi Moshe Tendler, aside from being the son-in-law of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, let him rest in peace also, had a bio degree. And everyone else in the Orthodox world was saying, oh, these swordfish has scales. Let us go out and eat swordfish in a kosher emporium. And Rabbi Tendler, what do you think he said? No. See, I always say, the Orthodox rabbi has the easiest job in town. All he has to say is no. The Reform rabbi has the easiest job in town. All he has to say is yes. The conservative rabbi is because Rabbi Tendler ruled. Those are not scales. You thought they were scales. They are bony protuberances. But in the text, it says the swordfish has scales as long as it swims in the streams and the rivers. So it sheds its platelets or bony protuberances. That's why swordfish is still a gray area. That's why you'll never see it for a bar mitzvah. I think it costs a fortune too. And you know, the swordfish is very happy about all this because most people leave him alone. All right, let's see what else we have. I have a list. Oh, sharks. Yes, sharks have scales, but they are placoid scales. They are, if you rub the shark, and I'm sure he'll be thrilled for you to rub him, you have to rub him in one direction. Rub him the right way. Yes. So, anyway, I don't even know what kind of shark they talk. There are a lot of sharks, thresher sharks and land sharks, and that shark. That was not, I understand that was not a real shark in Jaws. They had a left side, they had a right side, they had a front side. The front side is the one that ate Robert Shaw. Yes, come in, Shabbat Shalom. All right. Birds. These are birds you're not allowed to eat. Let's see, the osnia, which they're not translating. I'll give you the translation. The eagle, don't eat eagles. Don't eat the ossifrage. I looked it up. The ossifrage. The ossifrage. The ossifrage?
Osprey.
No, it's the ossifrage. Ossifrage. That will be on the fine. Okay? The ossifrage is a lower order vulture. I personally don't know what a higher order vulture is. I don't want to meet it. Yes. Oh, and the regular vulture too. The kite. The kite is a sort of raven, and it's followed by the raven. That's why Edgar Allan Poe did not keep kosher. Okay? All right, the owl. Don't eat owls. Hawks, night ravens, cormorants, swamp hens. What's a swamp hen? The swan. Don't eat the swan. You know why you shouldn't eat the swan? They are so miserable. They have such a bad temper. Ann Beth and I were in Puerto Rico, and we were behind the hotel, and there was a lovely little enclosed tropical area zoo with swans. Now everybody loves swans because they're in all the fairy tales, and they turn into a prince, and they have such graceful necks. And I had a box of Oreos, so I was going to feed the swans. And I said, here's swans, or whatever it is you say to them. They attacked me. They started pecking in a particularly sensitive area. So I called my wife for support. Remember cameras? She had the camera. I said, Bethy, take the picture. Bethy, take the picture. Bethy, where are you, Bethy? She had run into the hotel. That's it. If somebody's got to go, let it be the swan. Oh, they got all the Oreos, too. They would have eaten the box.
They took them in pecking order.
That's it. Oh, okay. Oh, my. Don't eat cuckoos, eagle owls, the Egyptian vulture, which perches only on pyramids, so it's very hard to get to. The heron, the pelican. Oh, I love pelicans. Don't you love pelicans? Yes. I mean, that's what it is. You have a pelican. All right, and here are the animals you're allowed to eat. With this, I will conclude. Chicken. I think the chicken is the Jewish national bird. Okay? We had a breastplate for the Torah. This was up in New Hampshire. And on top, with its wings outspread, little tiny thing actually, it was supposed to be an eagle, but I thought it looked like a chicken. And I thought that was much more appropriate because we all grow up with chicken. I recall as a child, of course I've told you this, nobody in my family could cook. Absolutely not. One time my father made me French toast. I should have taken a picture. But my mother learned to cook from her mother, who learned to cook from her mother, and not a single one could cook. They would make chicken soup. They would dip the chicken 3 times like a tea bag. Then they'd put it in a pan and roast it. By the time you got that bird in front of you on your plate, it would say, "Please eat me. I'm very dead." You know. So I grew up eating overcooked food. But for 40 years, thank God, I am married to a woman who knows how to cook. But I'm ruined. I can't eat gushy things. Everything's got to be, you know, my mother was ahead of the New Orleans trend. She blackened everything. So, all right. Well, okay, the Japanese quail, we'll look that up next time. There's a picture of a rooster in case you don't know what it is. Okay. The locusts are okay, boiled locusts. And there was a time, one Pesach, you know, everybody else is giving Bartons and Barasini, okay? And you know kosher for Passover chocolate. It's not real. It sits in your hand and says, I am kosher for Passover, I refuse to melt, and I'm not going to taste like chocolate. Why don't you have some? But they were selling chocolate-covered locusts. We did not have any. I guess they were out of our league. Okay, but thank you so much for your attention. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, and the cantor will. Oh yes, let us light the candles. Okay. Hi, would you like to light the candles? And the cantor will do a blessing. Oh, please, thank you. Come. You want Mrs. Owen? Yes. Jewish. Okay. All right, right over here. It's all right. It's that's lucky. Yes. Sometimes if you bring them up into Mohammed, oh, you did well. Okay, let's.
That was my fault.
Burn down the place here. Sorry. Burn down the fire department, it's not fast.
Okay, we wave our hands over the candles, we cover our face, and do the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, le'adlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'mitzvotav. V'tzivanu, v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner. V'tzivanu, v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner. V'tzivanu, v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. I turn to the person next to you and wish them good Shabbos. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. That's good stuff. Good job, sweetheart. It's a nice experience. Do well with the lounge. Kids loved it. I loved it. It was a nice drive up there. Yes, it was good.
Repeat after me. כל אחד אוהב את יום השבת. כל אחד, כל אחד, כל אחד, כל אחד אוהב את יום השבת. Everybody loves יום השבת. Everybody loves Yom HaShabbat. Shabbat. Spanish. Todo el mundo ama Yom Shabbat. Todo el mundo ama Yom Shabbat. Todo el mundo, todo el mundo, todo el mundo ama Yom Shabbat. Tout le monde, tout le monde aime Yom Shabbat. Tout le monde aime Yom Shabbat. Tout le monde, tout le monde, tout le monde, tout le monde aime Yom Shabbat. Alle Menschen oblieben Yom Shabbat. תנגן לי עברית. כל אחד אוהב יום השבת. כל אחד אוהב יום השבת. כל אחד, כל אחד, כל אחד, כל אחד, כל אחד אוהב את יום השבת. Okay, so Shalom Aleichem.
Page 21 is the Lachadodi 21.
Okay, you remember the one of the hay, okay? Lechadodi, Ikrakala, lai, Shabbat de Kabla.
Hey!
Lechadodi, Ikrakala, lai, Shabbat de Kabla.
Hey!
Amor,
No.
Shabbat lekavra,
Hey!
lekadoli, lekala, Shabbat lekavra, Ikrat Shabbat, lechu benecha, ki mekor averacha, merosh mikedem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving my.
Goyim beshalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha ubesola, tov kemurim yam segula, boi kala, lai 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 lecha dodi.
I usually do this before the Kaddish, but it is at the bottom of page 22. We offer condolences to the family of the late Joseph Scher of blessed memory, and we say to you, Hamakom yirachem etchem b'tol she'arav alei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May the Almighty comfort you with the rest of the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We'll say Amen.
Amen.
Okay. All right, I think we can do the Baruch Hu now. Okay, we bow towards the ark.
Marichu et Adonai, Ameorai.
Baruch
Baruch Adonai Amonach, Leolam Vaed.
All right, the doors are closed. You may be seated. Okay, let's do an English reading. I think in the back. This is very nice. Page 340. 340, the top paragraph. Reading together. Are we there yet? 340. Shosh me'ot v'arbaim.
340.
All right, no matter how you say it. 340, let's read together that paragraph. Strengthen us, Adonai our God, with your mitzvot, particularly the mitzvah of this great and holy Shabbat. You have sanctified it lovingly, that we may rest thereon, according to your will. May you grant, Adonai our God, that our Shabbat rest be free of anguish, sorrow, and sighing. May we behold Zion, your city, consoled, Jerusalem, your holy city, rebuilt, for you are master of deliverance and consolation. All right, going back now to page 28. 28.
ומאמיניום ומביליילה ומבדיל בין יום ולילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד מלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המעני ורבי.
Page 29.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך נצמח בדברי תורתך
Page 30, we have the Shema. Cover your eyes, show God cannot be seen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Uncover the eyes. Baruch Shem Kol, Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Reading in the English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. We'll read silently from the bottom of page 30 to the end of the top paragraph on 31.
Adonai Elohim Emet Emet ve'emuna kol ezot ve'kayam aleinu ki hu Adonai Eloheinu bein zulato v'anachnu Yisrael ha'amo.
Bottom or the middle of 32, we have the Milchamocha.
ומלכותו ורצון קיבלו על הילד, משה ובני ישראל לקהלו שירה, בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך, באלים אדוני, מי כמוך, אצלנו הקודש, לא בונה תהילות, מלכותך ראובנך, בוקע ים לבני משה, סליאנו ואמרו, אדוני גדול, ולמרכיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגיהלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, God Israel.
All right, the top left of 33, this is the portion of the service where we go around. If there's anyone you know in need of refuah shalema, quick and speedy recovery, please mention their name, and afterwards we'll read that top left-hand paragraph.
And Father.
Okay, refuah shalema.
Somebody's calling with the name.
Yeah. Yes.
If nobody else wants to, Michelle J. Gomez, Jerry
Refuah
D'Ambrosio,
shalema, refuah shalema,
Douglas Vertical,
refuah shalema,
Lisa Schoenberg.
refuah shalema. Thank you. Yes, Arnold.
Jerome Rader, Marlene Rader.
Refuah shalema. Yes, sir.
Jerry Bassar.
Refuah shalema.
Bruce Morton,
Refuah Shlema.
Kenny Mahadeo,
Refuah Shlema.
and Enrico Mascaro,
Refuah Shlema.
Mikhail Ben Emmanuel Vitamar,
Refuah Shlema.
James Basmagian
Refuah Shlema.
and Adele Greenblatt
Refuah Shlema.
and Rhoda Silverman.
Refuah Shlema.
Lenny Stubb.
Joel Kuznets.
Refuah Shlema.
Arlene Carl.
Refuah Shlema. Yes, Liz.
Toby Milady,
Refuah Shlema.
Lenny Seelig.
Refuah Shlema.
Pearl Katz,
Refuah Shlema.
Lori Lender,
Refuah Shlema.
Stuart Epstein,
Refuah Shlema.
Joel Shankman,
Refuah Shlema.
David Weinreb,
Refuah Shlema.
Morty Fogel,
Refuah Shlema.
Art Dozer,
Refuah Shlema.
Serafina Klein,
Refuah Shlema.
Artin Reynolds,
Refuah
and
Shlema.
Russell Schottger.
Refuah Shlema. Yes.
Ina Levy,
Refuah Shlema.
Nir Ben Revital,
Refuah Shlema.
some of the soldiers that were injured in the last Pigua in Israel, and
Refuah
Chayalei
Shlema.
Israel.
Refuah Shlema. Yes. Well, that they should.
Speedy recovery.
No. Any had kamanti at kol hatzava. I meant the whole army.
Chayalei Israel.
Okay.
All the IDF and the American soldiers.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's read the top left-hand paragraph. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people of Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Vasalenu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Borei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol ha'olam kulo. Amen. 34 is the Visham.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. הוא היום השביעי, שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם.
Please rise, bottom of 34, half Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דיברה חינותי וימליך מלכותך. לך יכון יום יומייכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל. ועגלה ועגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה Yistabach, Vegipar, Vegitromar, Veitrase, Veitadar, Vegitale, Vegitalar, Shmei Vodesham, Leila Vinicol Vinicata, Veshirata, Tush Vechata Vener Fermata, Tamia Mealma,
Yamidah 35D, concluding on page 38. When you're finished, you may be seated.
Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ya'akol Yisrael, Yaseh 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 Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ya'akol Yisrael.
Page 47, no, not 47, 47, 48, 48.
Yitgadar Vitgadashem Rabah, מיד מה דברי חילותו ואבריך ומלכותו וחייך כל וימיך כל וחייך כל את ישראל. para וזמגני ואיברוך. יהי שמי רבה מבורך. יום לעולם ימיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל לשמי קודשה. תהילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ורחמתה וענווה ואיברוך. תתכבד צלות הנבואות לכל ישראל. כלם אמרות משמעיה וגימברו. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמעיה וחיימה עלינו על כל ישראל וגימברו. עושה שלום ויברומם ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום ויברומם ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו amen.
All right, now is the Kiddush, page 49. Please rise. Okay.
One of the Makalu is not here, the other is not there. So I will be one of the chicken or pasta. Chicken or pasta? No.
Is that wine or
No, this is juice.
Oh, good man.
Choose one.
Ugh, it looks like.
Choose.
It's color.
I'm gonna get the real stuff.
Juicy Jew here.
Don't go away, Rabbi. Why do I come?
You know how I know that? Jaws.
Oh, I like that one.
Mine's coming, mine's
You can
coming.
take it. It's all right.
You've got
Okay.
5 minutes to change your mind. That's from real McCoy.
Be careful, don't go back.
No, I'm not backing out. I'm doing a 360.
Is that your second, Arnold? Who's counting?
From there.
Oh, Lush is back there, sir.
Okay.
Hold on a second, please.
Have to cord you?
Yes.
Okay.
Somehow.
Muy bien. Kiddush.
Yes.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Orei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher קידשנו במצוותו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה ורצון יחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי יום תחילה במקראי קודש זכר יציאת מצרים Anu b'charta, Anu kidasha, mikol ha'im, v'shabat kodshecha, v'hava u'ratzon, yekatanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Shabbat.
Amen.
Shalom, have some things. Okay, let me get the leftovers. Oh, thank you. All right, we're moving on. Page 51 is the Aleinu. There's no curtain. All we have is doors. Okay,
Next time I'll get it.
עלינו לשבח אדון הכל, לגדולה ליוסף ראשית, שלא עשנו כגולי ארצות, ולא שמענו משפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, ויור עלינו כל עמונה, אנחנו גולים, משתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שכולם בשמיים ויוסף הארץ, ומשה יקרו בשמיים נמעל, ושכינתו זו, ושכינתו זו, וגוברי מרומים, ואלוהינו אינו, ארץ מלכנו לארץ זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השבוך אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, והארץ והארץ
The ark is closed. If you're not saying Mourner's Kaddish, you may be seated. And the Mourner's Kaddish is on page 52. Kedal v'kadash shemei rabba, amen. Elmad yivrach yurtei v'yamlich machlutei. V'chayei chaun v'yimei chaun v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. V'agalau v'zman kariv v'yimru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach v'yolam v'yomen maya. Yitvorach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei tekudashav v'rivu. V'elam en kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. V'amiran v'yalma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. Chaim Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom l'mramav, u'yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yoshvei Tevel v'yimru, amen. Please be seated, and now we will hear a few well-chosen words from our wonderful president, Ms. Rita Fleming Cole.
Good Shabbos, everyone. Welcome, new friends, to Temple Sholom. It's lovely to have you with us. Welcome, wonderful, not so old friends, but delicious friends to celebrate Shabbat with. I was thinking so much about our Joseph Scher, and I was thinking today that I had never heard anything as poignant as what Scott and Jeff, I know they were your words too, said just a few days ago. And I was very moved by what you said. I take that with me, and I'll hold that with me, because it was tender and it was real. And now when I think about Joe, who was very loved in our shul, I was trying to think if I thought of him as a candle, because he was burning to survive, and that's why he survived, and burning to live. And then I thought, no, I think of him more as the eternal light, because his strength never will go out, and our love for him at Temple Shalom will never stop. You're a wonderful, beautiful family, and it's my honor to know all of you now, the children and grandchildren too. So thank you so much. Tomorrow is our more traditional service. It begins at 9:30, but you can come anytime, you know that. Most come about 10 or 10:30, so you're welcome, you're welcome whenever you do come. Right now, we are taking reservations for our Passover Seder, which will be on the first night. I know some of you have booked already, I know. And it's on April 19th. Call the office, or you can book online now if you would prefer. But please join us so that we're one family. Our children are far away. Paul's and my children are in Nebraska and Houston. I don't know how that happened, but I'm sure that there are families whose children are far away. So we are very happy to be celebrating Pesach with you, and not alone at home sitting over a sad plate of matzah. So we'll have a wonderful celebration. But please do make your reservations, because we are filling up. We are set for Remembrance Day. Our Yom HaShoah this year will be on Wednesday, May 1st, which is the for you for the summertime, a wonderful lecture series on the Dead Sea Scrolls. We have a mahjong game, a canasta game, a book club, and we're thinking of about 11 or 12 other things for you to be involved in the summer, because we want to have an active summer. So, yes.
I just wanted to say I will be in Poland on my 6th March of the Living, leaving the 29th. But in the past, I've taken names of those who might have been murdered in the Shoah and put them on the tracks during the March of the Living. So if you'd like to do that, I'll gladly take them and put them on the tracks.
Actually, what I'll do, Donna, is we've had a program here called Adopt a Kaddish, where children who were murdered in the Holocaust, we take and adopt, if you like, so that Kaddish is said for them 4 times a year. I will let our Adopt a Kaddish parents know that you are going and that they can give you their children's names. This is a living, growing project at Temple Shalom. So if anyone is interested, we have 1.5 million children that were lost. And there are names available, and with no families to say Kaddish for them. So that is a wonderful, loving project of Temple Shalom. Thank you, Donna. I will do that for the children that I've adopted and that Paul as well has adopted. So I'll be giving you a list. Thank you for that very, very much. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Tireless self-promoter that I am, I was thinking of doing Basheva Singer, and I still might, his short stories, and I still might, from my group, and I still might get back to him whenever, but I thought we should go to the source, the fellow who, if it weren't for him, there wouldn't have been a Basheva Singer, Yitzchak Lev Peretz. And the story I have in mind, please forgive me, is Yom Kippur in hell.
The one up you.
Because, and now I feel bad, I totally
No,
forgot.
don't feel bad, it's all
A rabbi's class follows the service tomorrow. It's fantastic. And on Wednesday at 4:30, Rabbi has an adult Hebrew class, a modern Hebrew class. At 7 o'clock, a current events class. On Thursday, after Minyan, Cantor Javier is diving into the Siddur class, which this week was really terrific. I heard it, even though I was leaning out of the office to hear it. We are blessed with clergy our clergy are both scholars, and their classes are wonderful.
Yeah, we're not terrific.
Yeah, every week you're terrific. I think I'm not doing so well tonight. Forgive me.
Sometimes he's terrific and I'm not so terrific.
You're so terrific. We are very blessed with our rabbi and our king.
You're gonna be
Okay.
You're gonna be terrific?
Yes, we are going to sing a terrific Shalom in this moment. Page number 54.
Call Galia so she can sing
No,
on the
Galia
phone.
is not here, so we are going to do a Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem Kol Yizir Nira Ve'esh Nasar V'Chetzor Kol Asar Melech Shemon Nikra Ve'acharei Kilot HaKol Levado Yilok Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Rofem Ve'hu Yeh V'Tzifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'en Sheni Ve'amshir Lo Le'achmira Ve'li Ve'li Ve'lo Ha'os Ve'ha'misra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Govali Ve'tzur Hevli Ve'etzahara Ve'hu Nisi U'manosi Ve'naftosi Ve'yom Ekra Ve'yado Avkid Ruchi Ve'etzisha Ve'yahira
You can hold your note much longer. All right, please rise for the closing benediction.
Yavarechcha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
The Lord bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka.
The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And the Lord turn his face unto you and grant you peace. We'll say Amen.
Amen.
Also, tomorrow we're Mevorchen HaChodesh. We're blessing the new month of Nisan. So, a Gittin Chodesh.
A good Kodesh for the next one.
Okay. It is a women's festival, so women are entitled to take off the entire month.
Till it comes time to make.
I don't know who's going to make the sale.
What can I